Hello, and welcome to an episode of Aydin Says Stuff. Could you guys even see me with all this books on top of my head? Today, sci-fi. We're going to talk about sci-fi. Specifically, the Expanse series. Now, let me just start by saying the Expanse series is not just sci-fi. It's like a mixture of horror, detective, adventure. Yes, sci-fi, but literally based on science. This series, and I'm already frightening you just by looking at this tower of books. It's such a good worth to start. I mean, once you pick up a book, you will not be able to stop because you want to follow through. And I'll give you guys guidelines to where to start if you want to break, because I hate cliffhangers, and in this series there is some cliffhangers until you get to the next book. And just a heads up, there's 9 books. The last one is coming up soon, hopefully. I'm waiting for it. And you might be saying, oh, just wait and watch the TV series, which is also great. It's one of the best TV series out there right now. I just recommend you read the books too. Okay. Usually people say the series TV series or movies they're adopted by. Let me drink first. Books who are turned into TV series or movies are not as good as the original. Well, in this case, they actually did a pretty decent job. So I recommend it. Just move this shit aside just so we could talk to each other more properly. Oh my god. So The Expanse is for you guys who never even heard about it, it's an adventure story based in maybe 200, 300 years from our time frame. We never actually quite know what's going on, what time frame we're in. But pretty much it puts us in a universe that is centuries from now, where there are 3 major fractions: Earth, the Martians, and the Belters. And to simplify this, and I'm very much simplifying because like I said, we got over 5,000 pages of literature and I'm cramming them all together, is Earth is run by the UN. It's almost like a lucky first one gets served to become a greater human being, travel the planet, become something important, or you just will live off welfare for the rest of your life. The Martians are trying to colonize a whole planet and turn it into Earth, pretty much second Earth. And the whole culture is based upon hard work, dedication, and sacrifice for future generations. While the Belters are pretty much the riffraff of the universe. They're the ones who mine, collect, and live on the borders of our solar system. They're the ones who are the most dismissed, the most rejected, and the most shunned on. And this is where also I love good writing, because we could talk about political scenarios that are embedded in our time and place it in the future. And what this series does, and which I love, is it talks about things that are normalized. For example, homosexuality. It's normalized because it's the future. Homosexuality is as normal as you drinking water, and they don't force it upon you, which I goddamn hate. Like, we are a gay couple, we love each other, we struggle, look at us. No, they're a gay couple, they love each other. The ends. And the characters are based on genuine feelings that you adamantly feel for. Like there's so many characters, but the main ones is James Holden, okay, who's the main captain, who's this goody two-shoe privileged white boy who ends up becoming totally reimagining who his character is as the series continues, because he just wants to do good. But you know what? Doing good ain't that simple. You have Naomi, which is again a hardcore belter who is trying to understand the notion of freedom, but yet she sees that the more she tries to fight for freedom, she's causing also lots of harm. And this dichotomy goes forward. You have Amos. Oh my God, Amos, one of the most greatest characters ever existed. He's this basic alpha male. That's how he starts, like on the first book. And my God, he has so much depth. You get so attracted to him because his background history is brutal and violent in a way where you will accept anything that he would do, like any atrocities that he would do. Yet, he has a moral because he wants to balance this darkness with some sort of good. So, he is loyal to the fault. But what happens when your loyalty needs to be broken to protect the ones you care for? I mean, it's brilliant. There's so many other ones I could talk about, like Bobby Draper, this badass Marine who just, like, she's trained to be a warrior, you know? And like I said, they're not making her, because she's a woman, she's a warrior, Xena, warrior princess. No, it's just genetically, biologically, she's been trained to be a warrior because she grew up on Mars with low gravity, so she has to train harder. Her attitude, her culture makes her just this pure soldier. And she understands that being a soldier, as valiant as it was, is not enough to make a difference when there's so many fractions involved together. The storyline with this whole arc, and I'm putting it very vaguely because I'm talking about all 8 books, okay, together at once. And the 9th one's coming up pretty soon, hopefully. No? But the story starts about like a detective trying to find a missing person, while you have a crew of miners falling upon something that they shouldn't have found. And this builds up into creating this cast of crew that are so diverse. And I'm not talking diverse because they have different skin colors. I'm talking diverse in the future where one is a belter, one is a UN Martian. I mean, all of them coming together just because things occurred that way. And they have to work together to find answers to something that is so far beyond humanity, even in the future. Yes. You see, they have a beauty of mixing drama, horror, sci-fi, philosophy, war, politics, and a detective story, a noir detective story, all together. And you have these characters that you get so attached to because they're so written. By the way, the author's name is a fictional name. What the hell is the author's name? Where is he? James S. A. Corey. There's actually 2 authors. I forgot their exact names, but it's 2 authors working together to write these books. You know? And they write this character plot that are so unique to every single one of them that when something negative happens to them, you seriously feel for them. You feel bad for them. You're hurt by them. Oh, guys, give me 1 second. I got let my cat out because I think he wants to poop. Give me 1 sec. Wait, see what's going on? Here. Oh, here. Let me just. You want to say hi? Say hi. Now we gotta go. Yeah. Come on. Sorry about that. So yeah, so the character plot line, it's like you have these generic characters that are built up, but then they evolve to something so much more. Going back to Amos, which he is my favorite one. He's this jockey, rugged, like, I don't give a shit, I'll fight everything, punch everything, screw feelings. Which is kind of like me, you know. I deal my feelings with booze. But he is so much more than that too. You find out that he's bisexual, and not because he's just like, you know, I could do either one of them, I don't care. You find out that he was a sex trafficked child, that became a gangster, tried to find a different path. And this violence that followed him wasn't because he was a violent person, it's just because his environment made him violent. Or at the same time, you have this Krizin Avezavala. Okay, she's like the UN ambassador, prime minister. She has so many roles, but she's this badass female character where she's governing the whole planet while manipulating the underground world, everything that's happening around the universe. And she does it in such a powerful way. She knows how to navigate the political correctness of being a politician while at the same time smacking down like fucking rules and regulation, whatever it has to be. She is powerful. And whenever one of these characters, and they do die, it's a trilogy, it's long, you feel for them. You feel like, you actually, I might have some tears build up even thinking about it. I have this scene right now in my head where you have this one where heroes gunning down a battleship, I'm not going to say who, but they know they're going to die because it's a goddamn human being in space with a machine gun shooting a battleship. Like, it's over, But they don't care. They're gunning away. They know they're going to die and just reeling, just going. And with a buzzsaw, she just splatters and it's over. And you're like, oh my God, why? I need to smoke just for that. That's another thing too. The space in the universe around these books are genuine. Like, you genuinely understand space travel, the reality of space travel. Like, it's not, again, I'm a Star Trek geek, but it's not this comfortable journey in a cruise liner and you just zoop warp drive you someplace else. It's complicated, it's brutal, it's hard on the body. You need to have injections to be able to survive the G-forces. If ever you're going like 5,000, 10,000 kilometers per hour, 12, whatever, and you smack brake, what happens to your body? Again, horror in this, but it's all these realities that occur in space and the risk of just being in space. And all of it placing politics, humanities, trying to understand alien technology that is millions of years older than us. Yes. So, just to put in context, if you're going to start doing this, these are the 3 books you got to start with. Okay? Oh, actually, these 2. Okay? If you start with these 2, you're good. Yeah, let me just make sure I got this right. Yeah, 1, 2. Okay? You'll get the basic, they're all standalones. So, this is a standalone. You get a resolve at the end of the book. This one pursues on the first one, so you get an expansion. This is completely a standalone, you'll be good, but yet expands on the first one. And then, this is, where is it? Sorry. This one is the final standalone. So, let me repeat this. Number 1, Liviat's Wakes. Okay, standalone, you're good. Caliban's War, standalone, you're good. Abandon's Gate, you're good. You can read these 3, okay? They kind of follow through each other, but you'll be okay. Gibraltar's Run, basic standalone. It's pretty much they're stranded on one of those planets that they find. Again, I don't want to give too much spoilers, but standalone, it just pretty much puts our main characters in an environment where they have to deal politically with something that is so minute, but yet extremely important. But then, when this is done, this is where it gets kind of hardcore. These 2, you have to read together. Okay, Nemesis Game and Babylon's Ashes, read them together. You have to. Things happen where, as bad as the first 4 books, they had to battle, fight, and stand up to things that were so much above and beyond them. this thing just kicks ass. I mean, it puts our heroes in a scenario where, honestly, like, it's nightmare to even imagine. And what's even more frightening, the nemesis, the bad guys, you kinda feel for them, which is horrible because they're literally doing mass purge of millions of human beings. And you're like, well, it kind of makes sense, which is not good. But this is how good it's written. You genuinely feel bad and you root for the bad guys. I gotta light on my cigar. Been talking too much. And then finally, and this is something that made me appreciate this series even more, is because from the beginning to this end, it's maybe 10 year passes and their history. Then when you hit these ones, we're talking almost 30 years past. Our main characters are old. They're not as tough. They got their issues. They got their arthritis. They got their own flaws that are physically preventing them from being these badass heroes. Yet, they still have to be. But how'd they go by doing that? How'd they go by being these strong characters while being physically weak? Including even Amos, which is the greatest character ever written. I know that, like, most people come up and say, you should read all of them, and be like, oh, if you don't read all of them, you don't understand the whole storyline. I'm telling you, just start for the first book. I promise you, you're going to want to go to the second, third, and all the way up. If you watch a TV series, which is great, unfortunately, the TV series, they take so many characters and combine them into one sometimes, just to make it more simple. Literature has a beauty of expanding and diving and utilizing your imagination to see these characters. And this series does it so well. It does it in a way where, the last book I read was over almost like 9 months ago when it came out. I'm still thinking about all the characters, what they had to face, how they went forward, how they challenged these things. And now, like always, why should you read these books in the time frame that we're in? One, you got nothing to do. Literally, you could read all these books in a month if you wanted to. Okay, get your PCU, get the Canadian stripper money, and just have fun. Okay, sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but whatever. Like, by reading this, you also understand what struggle means and how hard it is to surmount them. Yet, you can do it with support, with help, by people who are so different than you. And we're not talking politically or religiously different. We're literally talking planetary different. Yeah? Like, the N-word, it's nowhere in here because it has no relevance. But you slimy, dirty belter, ooh, that is racist in this series. Because unfortunately, belters don't have access to water, so they are smelly. You know, they have to wash in different ways. Or when someone says, you lazy earther, it has a point, because earthers are just based on not charity, donation. Pretty much they're living on subsidies, you know. Or your rash Martian is because Martians are just gun-ho. Their culture is around. And all of it, you actually feel shocked when a character says something racist in this trilogy. And that's beautiful. Because you see these characters that are flung 200-300 years from our time, dealing with still racism. But how they deal with it, how they challenge it, fight against it, how they come together to work together to help all humanity, because at the end, doesn't matter if you're earther, a Martian or a Belter, you're still human. That itself, and all the books, you see them come together. And the characters are not basic. They have their issues, all of them. They have a past, they have problematics. And yet, those problems come and confront the reality. Now they have a choice to make. Do they change? Do they adapt? Or do they succumb to their basic ideologies? Again, unfortunately, they don't succumb to they do make mistakes, but again, after 8 books and 9 one coming, you can understand they do kind of change and adapt. Guys, I highly recommend pick it up. Yeah, if you're not sure, pick up the TV series. If you're not a sci-fi fan, if you think that Star Trek is too complex, I promise you this is. I don't want to say Game of Thrones in space because that's just too tacky, but it's more than sci-fi. It has so many nuances, so many twists and turns, but they're so smart. And everything that is left to the unknown, you will find out in the next book. Nothing is left on a cliffhanger as you follow through. And that's what's brilliant about good writing. They know how to create a universe that you believe as if it's real. On that point, this is Aydin. I just said stuff. And good luck living the apocalypse. Oh, and promise you, after reading these guys, the COVID problem is going to look pretty nuanced right at this point. Okay? Cheers.